Sup boyos, Thraxy here. Have you ever played a farming game like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon and thought to yourself, wow, there's so many romantic options in the game, but why can't I fall in love with my cow? Well, guess what, I got a game for you. Cloud Meadow is an early access game on Steam where your cow isn't just a walking milk factory grazing on the land. She's also your gardener, a warrior, and maybe even your soulmate. I bought Cloud Meadow recently as it looked like a lighthearted fantasy game with farming and RPG elements. The game developers are earning nearly $20,000 a month to develop this game, so I had to see what people were paying for. They advertise their game as an adventure where you can build a farm, grow crops, discover new cooking recipes, and breed with your animals. Wait, am I reading this right? Breeding with your animals? Well, before I get to the juicy part, let's talk about why we're in this strange land in the first place. You start the game off as a brand new frontiersman heading to Cloverton, an island in the sky filled with a motley crew of townsfolk ranging from shark men, jelly women, or whatever this thing is. After arriving, you're greeted by Jubilee, a canine woman who will be your guide as you learn the lay of the land. After being introduced to the townsfolk, we move on to our farm, which has definitely seen better days. But it's okay, nothing a little free labor can't fix. Now that you're settled in, let's talk about what you'll be doing here at Cloverton. As a farmer, your job is to till the land, planting your seeds as you slowly watch your farm grow from a tiny patch of dirt into, well, a slightly bigger patch of dirt that you can make a little bit of money off of. Sound exciting to you? Well, it doesn't sound exciting to me, so that's why we're going to employ an army of cat girls to do all that boring stuff for us. And while they're not getting a cut of the profits, I am feeding them a steady diet of hamburgers and cream soda to keep them going. Now you might think that's unfair, but that's just how capitalism works, baby. While our cat girls are busy girl bossing around the farm, we're going to actually engage with the truly fun part of the game, the turn-based combat. Shortly after arriving at your farm, you're attacked by a group of cats in heat, and we get our first introduction to the gameplay. Each member of your party has 4 unique skills at their disposal, ranging from offensive attacks to defensive buffs to keep your party alive. Unfortunately, our character only starts off with 3 moves, until you eventually earn your 4th skill later in the story, where we gain the ability to shapeshift into a powerful member of the Illuminati. But I'm getting ahead of myself again, so let's get back to the fight. After kicking the cats to the curb, we get a better idea of the situation we're in. See, floating around the town of Cloverton are something called dungeon islands, floating rocks in the sky harboring scumbags, criminals, and all types of miscreants. Horrifying, I know. So, it's up to us to explore these dungeon islands and try to bring some peace to Cloverton. And to do that, we're going to need a crew. And boy, do we have some options. So let me lay it out for you. First up, we have Theo, a smart-mouthed bunny who looks like she's been eating smaller bunnies for the protein gains. Look at those arms. Theo is equipped with a mechanical gauntlet that allows her to punch, shoot, and shield against anything you encounter out in the wilderness. At the start of every turn, Theo's abilities are rolled. Rolling multiple copies of each ability will make the move even stronger, so she's the perfect choice if you're a degenerate gambler with a fetish for muscular women.
Yes! Oh my god. Oh my god!
Next up we have Creighton, one of the strongest characters in the game. As you can see, Creighton is pretty big, and she swings an even bigger weapon around. She's all about massive AoE damage, but with a catch. Every time you use an ability, her hunger bar increases. As she gets hungrier, she deals more damage. But if she gets too hungry, she'll debuff herself, taking additional damage for each turn. I used her throughout my entire playthrough, and she came up clutch plenty of times. Just make sure you bring some extra food with you, because Big Girl likes to eat. The last character I want to go over is Camellia, and she just might be my favorite party member in the entire game. Camelia's skills generate heat. And what is heat used for? Well, let me just show you.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
I had to censor it a little for the YouTube cops, but let's just say having Camellia in your party is basically playing the game on easy mode. I'm not going to drag on and talk about all the characters available to you, but each character has their own unique system that makes them fun and engaging to play with. I definitely didn't expect the developers to put this much effort into each character, so it was a lot of fun to play around with different party members and see how they approach encounters differently. After deciding on your crew, there's currently 7 levels of the dungeon island to explore. Each level has everything you'd expect in a classic dungeon. There are quests to complete, loot to find, angry locals to defend yourself from, and secret areas to uncover. One level will task you with clearing out a mine that's clearly not keeping up with OSHA standards. Then in another level you'll find yourself going head to head with the leader of a centaur pack, testing one another's endurance to see who's the strongest. This is the most I'm allowed to show you in that scene because there's a lot going on here. This level sucked. This place is browner than Baghdad. I can't even tell where I'm going, or where I'm supposed to go. Other than that exception, exploring each level is fun and rewarding, which is an important aspect to nail properly in an RPG. Speaking of nailing, we should go back to the farm and talk about how breeding works, as it's another major component of the game. Just like any other farming game, you can breed animals together, but what makes Cloud Meadow a little more special is the fact that you can breed with your animals as well. Now this isn't for your own sick pleasure, mind you. This is purely for the purpose of creating the strongest, most agile and durable beast possible. It's kind of like trying to make the opposite of whatever the hell a pug is. I compare this process to Eevee and Ivy training in Pokemon, where you're trying to find the perfect combination of traits to make the perfect specimen. I even made the mistake of trying to breed with a male centaur. How was I supposed to know men couldn't get pregnant in this game? I thought this was a fantasy game, but apparently the developers are a little close-minded. Watch a movie, won't ya? Admittedly, I didn't spend too much time with this part of the game because it never felt like it was actually worth the time investment. The party members from around town you recruit are all pretty powerful, and there's not enough work that needs to be done on the farm to justify all the breeding you would have to do to create the ideal workforce. And this is where I believe the game definitely has some significant flaws. There really isn't any reason to engage with the farm, and it almost feels like a complete waste of time. Just clearing out each floor of the dungeon gave me more resources than I knew what to do with, so why even bother with the farming or breeding despite it being a huge part of the game's identity? The game is still in early development, so it can still be fixed, but the developers are going to have to get creative if they actually want players to spend time with the systems they've put in the game. I spent most of my time dungeon crawling and having a blast, but anytime I was on my farm I felt like I didn't need to be there. There's a part of me that wishes the developers just didn't even bother with any of the farming, and just made a solid RPG out of the game. But at this point they spent several years developing the game, so it's probably a little too late for that. Regardless, the game is a lot of fun, and I like to end the video on a much more positive note. The art style and the creativity behind the NPCs and the environment is great. The artists were clearly given a lot of room to do what they wanted, and it shows. The game is brimming with charm at every stage, and it's one of the major things that got me into the game in the first place. That and the you know. But I won't get too much into that because I'd like to try and get this video out without it being immediately age restricted like my last video. So you're either going to have to buy the game or look it up on the hub if you want to see what this game really has to offer. I will say that the developers got very creative with some of their scenes, and it's definitely worth looking into if you're into that sort of stuff. Overall, I enjoyed the short time I spent with Cloud Meadow. It's a hard game to recommend due to how incomplete it still is, and you might be wondering why I didn't really mention the story, but that's because it's flimsy at best, so there's not much to talk about. They tease a few villains, but everything about the story is being told at an extremely surface level, so it didn't have much to work with. What I really enjoyed most about the game was the turn-based combat and the charming art style. The developers have been pretty slow when it comes to updating the game, but I really do think the project has a ton of potential, and hope you can see a full release someday, even if it means I won't be playing the full version anytime soon. But hey, I'm a patient guy. Speaking of patience, I appreciate it if you made it this far into the video. I had a lot of fun making it, so hopefully you got some entertainment out of it. I have more ideas in mind for the channel, so subscribe if you're interested. And if not, well, I don't know, this is kinda awkward now. Well anyway, that's the video. Peace.